ball. Oh, it is intercepted. Amukamara. And he is still on his feet at the 10, inside the 5, and down to the 1.
Hey everyone, yeah, it's that time for the OU post-game show. I'll try to get through it as much as I can without puking down my leg. Yeah, if you can use 3 words to describe OU's offensive performance or lack thereof against Nebraska on Saturday night: ugly, dreadful, and pathetic. Especially pathetic Landry Jones with interceptions. How many? That's right, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 5 interceptions. For the first time this season, the redshirt freshman played like a freshman. He was bad. But he doesn't get the entire blame because the Oklahoma offensive line was bad. And I know Nebraska has a pretty good defense, okay? We documented that on the weekly matchup show. We documented that the 2 defensive tackles, anchored, of course, by the Ndamukong Suh, one of the best defensive tackles, maybe the best defensive tackle in all of college football, and certainly a future NFL star. You wait and see. We knew that those guys were going to be tough to stop. You know, Jared Crick being the other defensive tackle. But Oklahoma, again, just like in the Texas game, just like in the BYU game, having a difficult time running the ball, having a difficult time staying away from penalties, having a difficult time taking advantage of opportunities, which in this game in the first quarter, Oklahoma's best opportunities slipped through their fingers. Missed field goals. Missed field goals. Missed field goals. 3 of them, as a matter of fact, by Tress Way, who replaced a guy who missed a field goal against Texas in Jeremy Stevens. We have not seen Stevens since. We might see him next week against Texas A&M. Tress Way was 1 for 4. Bad night, obviously, for the punter/kicker. I thought the Oklahoma defense was outstanding. Once again, just like in the Texas game, you can't blame Oklahoma's defense for this loss. I thought that they showed tremendous pressure all night long on the Nebraska quarterbacks, whether it was Cody Green, who only lasted 5 series, by the way, or whether it was Zach Lee. You know you have a good defense when the only touchdown you give up is off a 1-yard touchdown drive. That's it. Thanks, Oklahoma defense, for that, by the way, for setting your defense up with a 1st and goal at the 1-yard line. Yeah, that really helped. And also, in addition, at that point, even with Nebraska leading 7-0, the Huskers hadn't even mustered a 1st down yet. Yeah, Oklahoma's offense did very, very little to help their defense's cause. Again, we saw Oklahoma commit the penalties, and it's hard for me to really be upset as a Sooner fan, and I'll tell you why. Because this is what Oklahoma is. You might say, well, you're being a little too hard on them, okay? Lighten up. Okay? But has Oklahoma improved on turnovers? No. Have they improved on the penalties? No. Have they improved on taking advantage of opportunities? Heck no. They're still doing it. Again, this is what Oklahoma football is now. They have now dropped themselves to an even lower level, a level that they haven't seen since Bob Stoops' first year back in 1999, when nobody was even expecting anything good to happen to OU at that time. OU football is not in the Howard Schnellenberger, John Blake era. If you don't know what that is, that was the late 90s in which Oklahoma lost more games than they won. It's not that bad, but it's definitely not what we've seen throughout most of this decade. And again, you can say it's injuries, you can say no Sam Bradford, no Jermaine Gresham, but the last time I checked, those guys don't miss field goals, those guys don't commit the penalties, those guys don't commit the turnovers, okay? Oklahoma right now, this was not the case of a losing defense tonight. This was a case for Oklahoma of a losing team. You score 62 on Nebraska the year before, and on Saturday night in Lincoln in 2009, you score that many points. Oklahoma has never gone without an offensive touchdown, a touchdown of any kind in a game under Bob Stoops in his 11 years there until Saturday night. Completely unacceptable and pathetic. Hate to keep using that word, but I don't know no other adjective to describe Oklahoma's play on Saturday. Clearly pathetic. I thought the biggest play of the game was late in the first quarter when Oklahoma was winning the field position battle despite the fact they couldn't score a touchdown or a field goal. Nebraska had a punt of 65 yards, which took it all the way to Oklahoma's 1.5 yard line. Oklahoma could not get out of that hole. They would have to go 3 and out. And then when they did get the ball back, they had another 1st and 10 from inside their own 5 yard line. And then 3 plays later, as you saw the play that we started our show with, that was the one in which the Nebraska cornerback jumped in front of a Landry Jones pass. It would be the first of 5 interceptions, but it turned to be the most costly because that brought the ball all the way to the Oklahoma 1 yard line. It was those punts that put Oklahoma deep in their own territory and got the crowd even louder, and Landry Jones could not handle the crowd and could not handle Nebraska's defense. Now let's briefly go over the 4 keys of the ball game that we highlighted on the weekly matchup show. Number 1, protection program. Of course, thumbs down. Oklahoma only scored 3 points and couldn't do anything at all. Why am I going to give them a thumbs up? We mentioned the turnovers. We've already documented that. The lack of a running game and not taking advantage of opportunities. And again, Nebraska, not only their defensive line were they able to cause problems, but Nebraska also blitzed like crazy. And they said, Landry Jones, we're not going to give you much time to throw. This was not a Kansas or Kansas State defense where Jones had that luxury of having time to throw. It was hard for Jones to even complete the short passes, let alone anything downfield, and you saw the results. So thumbs down on that one. Key number 2, make sure that Green sees Crimson Red, talking about Cody Green, who did start the game at quarterback. I'll go thumbs up in that situation because Green could not muster a first down in his 5 drives that he was in this game. Smart move by Bo Pelini to yank Green. And of course, Zach Lee, who I didn't think played like an all-star, but played a little bit better than Green. And of course, Lee, his second play in the game, throws the 1 yard touchdown pass, which turned out to be golden because it was the only touchdown that either team could muster. But anyway, thumbs up to the OU defense for at least making life havoc for Cody Green, the freshman quarterback. Key number 3, remember Oklahoma, it's a 4-quarter game, not just a 1-quarter game. Easy thumbs down in this situation for Oklahoma. Big thumbs down because they couldn't even play 1 good quarter, let alone 4. The first quarter could have been big for Oklahoma. The first 3 drives were at the 50-yard line or inside Nebraska territory, but we mentioned the 2 missed field goals. One of them, by the way, it looked like it was partially blocked by the Ndamukong Suh, and then later in the game, Oklahoma missed another field goal, and they also had some, I believe they went 0 for 3 on 3rd down conversions, including a 4th and 1 in which they tried to option to Murray, and that didn't work at all. So thumbs down there. And number 4, make sure to serve big red turnovers, meaning force the Huskers to make turnovers. Thumbs down there. In fact, Oklahoma, they were the ones who committed the turnovers. In fact, at least 5 for the Sooner offense. Nebraska really limited their turnovers in this ball game. A lot better showing for Nebraska than the one they had 2 weeks ago against Iowa State, in which they turned the ball over 8 times in that game, which led to that loss against the guys from Ames, Iowa. But Nebraska did not beat itself tonight. They played more disciplined, made fewer mistakes, and you saw the end result. So we knew that Oklahoma was out of the BCS running. Right now, they're not going to go to the Cotton Bowl either, it doesn't look like. Maybe best case scenario is the Holiday Bowl, but they would have to win their last 3 games, which will be a lot easier said than done. They'll be favored to beat Texas A&M, but after watching the way Oklahoma played this game, nothing's a guarantee. And then in 2 weeks, I don't see how Oklahoma's going to win in Lubbock. And even the game against Oklahoma State in Norman, that's going to be a tougher game than we expected. Even though it's in Norman, Oklahoma State bounces back with a big win at Iowa State. So Oklahoma State looking better right now than Oklahoma. There's still time left to get better between now and then. But right now, Oklahoma at 5-4 overall and a Big 12 record of 3-2. And again, it's mediocrity, which is where Oklahoma's at right now. We'll have our weekly matchup show of the Sooners and the Aggies. The Aggies, by the way, not feeling too good either. They lost at Colorado. Again, final score, Nebraska 10, Oklahoma 3. Bob Stoops has only lost 4 games, by the way, against Big 12 North competition. But 2 of those losses came to Nebraska, including both of those losses in Lincoln. Catch you next time, everyone.